Hello everybody and welcome back to And Random Things. Now, for those of y'all who've been following Mumbo Jumbo on the latest Hermitcraft season, you'll have noticed that in one of his recent episodes he asked a question. Mumbo was building a maze and then he went through placing down the sea lanterns in the floor, separated by one block. At the end of when he finished filling in the maze, he noticed that the sea lanterns were all spaced apart. He was never forced to place a sea lantern next to another sea lantern, and he was never forced to leave a stone block next to another stone block. And he asked why. Now, I want to give credit where credit is due. If you scroll down to the comments of that video, which I will link in the description, you'll see a lot of different explanations that all say basically the same thing. Some of them use words, some of them use mathematical equations, but I'm going to explain it here visually and intuitively. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, here we have the first pieces of understanding what exactly is going on here. I've got two sets of lines here. This row has odd numbers, so there's 5 blocks in each row. This row has 4 blocks in each row, so odd and even. Now notice that when you do this pattern with the odd number of blocks, start with a stone and then a sea lantern, stone, lantern, stone. So you start and end with the same block, and it doesn't matter if you start with the sea lantern, it will still start and end with the same block. With the even number, it still holds the same pattern, you're just missing the one cap off the end. So you start with one and you end with the other. In the same way, if you start with this one and go this way, or really in either direction, say you started here and you went 1, 2, 3, 4. See, it starts with one and ends with the other. Now, here's an idea of kind of what's going on underneath the walls of the maze. As many of the people in the comments said, it is a checkerboard pattern, and I'll explain why in just a second over there. But let's look at this here first. So I've got 2 checkerboards here. This one is 10 by 10, and the other one is 11 by 11. So this shows you that it doesn't matter if you have an even number of an even width or an odd width, the checkerboard pattern still holds true. And I mean, you guys know that intuitively. So even if you have 10 by 11, the checkerboard pattern still holds. Now notice the thing here is, with the 10 by 11, you start with a sea lantern in one corner and go diagonal. And here's the diagonal of that first sea lantern. But then the corner here is a stone block. With the even ones, you start and end with the same block on the diagonal. And that makes sense, and then it switches on the corners. And you see that here as well, except with the odd number, all 4 corners are the same. As you can see up here, here's another 10 by 10, where I started the corner with a stone instead of sea lantern, and the pattern is exactly the same, just rotated almost. So you see there are still no sea lanterns next to each other and no stone next to each other. Now, you may be wondering how this checkerboard pattern applies to the maze. Now here's what Mumbo did in his video. He built the maze like this, and then he went through and he placed in the sea lanterns. He started here and he went, place a sea lantern, place a sea lantern, place a sea lantern, and he kept switching blocks. Now, to see why why we call that a checkerboard pattern, let's go ahead and do it here. So we place a sea lantern, place a sea lantern, and so you can do diagonally like that because it's still one block away. And some of you may already see this applies to the checkerboard pattern, but let's continue. So now that this is all done, it looks exactly the same as that. Let's pop out the walls here. I don't have sea lanterns under these walls, but I do have stone where the sea lanterns would be in the checkerboard. And as you can see, the sea lanterns fill in part of that same checkerboard pattern. And that's what all the comments mean when they say checkerboard. So as you can see here, the sea lanterns only follow the path, but they're still part of the checkerboard. and that makes sense. If we come back over here, it's the same thing as these rows, and these rows will you'll never be forced to place a sea lantern next to a sea lantern because you have control there. Now, for the other one, for the next row, you just place a sea lantern there, there, and there, and then stone, stone, and there you can see the checkerboard starting to form again because you've got the diagonals and the spacings. So no matter how you build the maze and then light it or light up with checkerboards and then build the maze on top, it will still work exactly that same way because these are in a checkerboard pattern. No matter how you place them in, you won't have to put them here as opposed to here. So the maze will not force you to place the lanterns outside of the checkerboard pattern. And I can show you what I mean here by, let's place down a block and put the maze on top. And as you can see, it's lit up, and none of the, even when you have loops and when you have two wide sections as over here, none of these sea lanterns are next to each other because you didn't change the checkerboard pattern. You only put something on top of it and blocked some of the sea lanterns out. Well, everybody, that about wraps up today. I hope you understand this topic better, and Mumbo, I hope this answers your question. I'll see y'all back next time on And Random Things. Have a good day.